friends and family, to a Thursday edition of Bet. Shutting down the week here. Still no Joe Fortenbaugh, so through the wonders of technology, I'm here in Vegas, and Arda Ocal joining us from Bristol as the co-host today, my co-pilot on Bet. Going to be a fun show. We got to talk NHL, Euros, NFL, NBA. We're going to touch it all, Arda, and I know you're going to bring the energy like you always do. Just a reminder that if you want more ESPN sports betting content, our YouTube page is where you can find it, youtube.com/ESPN sports betting. You'll hear from me, Joe, Doug, everyone on Daily Wager. Arda now will be on there because we're going to have some of today's show on the ESPN sports betting YouTube channel. Arda, let's dig in, though, first and foremost. Hold on, though. I should be a better host than. How you doing, brother? How are things in Bristol? How is life? Talk to me here. We haven't had a chance to catch up in a while.
Life is good. I'm happy. Sneaker game strong, just like you, brother. And I'll tell you what, man, hosting this show suits you very nicely. Maybe your partner should go on vacation more often.
Well, based on what happened with his 76ers last night, my partner not enjoying his vacation very much because he had the Twitter put away so he could spend time with the family. But after the Sixers blew that lead, he couldn't help but get those angry thumbs typing away. It was rather funny to see Fortenbaugh in that kind of mood. He'll be back next week, but let's get the bad boy started here today on Thursday, talking NFL Coach of the Year odds. Arda, as we take a look at who the coaches are that are most likely to win NFL Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski obviously did such a wonderful job last year with the Browns, 13-1, the shortest odd. A quartet of coaches at 15-1, including both in LA, Sean McVay and his former defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, now the head man with the Chargers, Brian Flores, Shanahan at 15-1 as well with Miami and San Francisco. And there's Frank Reich with a new QB that he knows well from his days in Philly, Carson Wentz at 16-1. So, Arda, I'll open it up to you first and foremost. If you had to, at this early juncture in the summer, well before we've gotten to training camp, kind of handicap who some of your favorite plays may be for NFL Coach of the Year, whether the name is on that list or someone further down that's a long shot, who you thinking about making a play on for 2021?
The two stats that I'd like to present to people thinking about who to pick here is that it's very rare that a coach gets the NFL Coach of the Year honors 2 years in a row. So though Stefanski might deserve it if the Browns have another great season, it's very rare that history repeats itself back-to-back for this award in the NFL. The other thing to keep in mind is that no coach has won this award with a worse record than 11-5 since 2009. So keep in mind that the team that you're selecting, the coach that you're selecting, you're expecting them to have a very good season with a favorable record. Now, I personally like Sean McVay on this list just because he's a quarterback-minded coach. He's glowed up a lot of quarterbacks in his career, and now he has a new quarterback to work with in Matthew Stafford coming to the Rams. I feel like that could be a match made in heaven for the Rams and a favorable situation for both. So if I'm looking at it in the way too early category, Tyler, that might be a good one to look at 15-1.
Yeah, Arda, I don't think you are aware of this, but I am a Rams fan. It goes back to being from St. Louis and my time spent watching that team when they won a Super Bowl in '99, greatest show on turf. Yes, they left my hometown, but I still root for the players. Not the owner so much, but the players. I am a Ram fan, and I do think there is some legitimacy to Sean McVay because if Matt Stafford and the Rams have this, if Stafford has this breakthrough and leads them to 12-13 wins and the Rams are a 1 or 2 seed in the NFC, especially coming out of that difficult NFC West, I think there's going to be a lot of momentum towards the narrative that Sean McVay got his quarterback and turned Stafford into the best version we've seen of himself in the National Football League. So I like that pick. I also think Brandon Staley, a guy who coached under McVay in a new spot. If the Chargers surprise in the AFC West, we saw Stefanski as a first-year coach do it last year. I think there's a lot of steam behind Staley, who will have that added benefit of never having coached before. So the expectations may be lower, and if he exceeds them wildly, I like that bet. Mine? I'm going way down the list at 30-1. I can't believe that Mike Zimmer has these odds, Arda, especially if Green Bay does not have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. Boy, that NFC North is wide open for the Vikings. We know they have the offensive firepower with Jefferson, Thielen, Cousins, and Dalvin Cook. Now, Mike Zimmer, who's known for his defense, irate with what happened last year on that side of the ball, invest heavily in the defense. Danielle Hunter should be back, and they could win that division, be a 1 or 2 seed in the NFC because of how weak the NFC North is. And boy, I tell you, Mike Zimmer at 30-1, I think has a lot of value because I expect them to be an 11 or 12 win team, especially with fans returning to the seats at that home stadium where they have such a great home field advantage. So you like McVay. I love McVay. I also like Mike Zimmer at 30-1 as a potential long shot with the Vikings turning things around in 2021. All right, let's get away from the gridiron and hop on the ice, baby. We have a tremendous guest joining us now, none other than the Padre of Pucks, Puck Daddy Greg Wyshynski, as you can see live from the site of Game 3 tonight with that Stanley Cup semifinal we'll see between the Islanders and the Lightning. We'll start with this ping pong back and forth here, Puck Daddy, me and Arda, who we know is a great hockey mind as well. Islanders got that all-important split down in Tampa Bay, but the books actually have Tampa as a road favorite tonight on Long Island at -140. How would you play tonight's matchup with the Ning and the Islanders?
Well, the money line bet is going to be weird because it's the Island, and Nassau is going to be a madhouse. First conference final game they've had here since, I think, 1993 or somewhere abouts there. So I'm actually looking at the over-under here, and I like the over-5 in this game, which I believe you can get at -130. The Islanders have been a very good offensive team here at Nassau. They're averaging 4 goals a game in all of their home games. Now, the Lightning have been a very, very good defensive road team, 1.83 goals against per game on the road. But the over has hit in 6 of the last 9 Islanders games, and I think the chaotic atmosphere of the Coliseum tells me we might see a little bit of offense tonight. So I like the over 5 in this game.
Okay, before I get to my question, I would have put Greg Wyshynski in a suit at plus 28,000. Can you move the microphone so we can see the tie, please, Greg?
Oh, man.
I mean, look, wonderful, buddy. Let's go. Getting ready for next season on ESPN. You already looked the part, my dude. Look at this. It's absolutely wonderful to see. Let's talk about, look at, exactly, dude. All right, after the Isles won game number 1, we had even money for this series for the Lightning. You said Lightning in 7 at the beginning of the series. You sticking with that?
I am sticking with that. You know, I thought the series might be one where the home team holds serve, but now I think it's one where the home team splits the first 4 games of the series. You take it back to Tampa for game 5, they win that. There's no way the Islanders are losing here in a game 6. That brings you to game 7. And at the end of the day, I like the Lightning in this series for the same reason I like them in the first 2 rounds against Florida and Carolina. They just have a collection of players that know how to make a play when you need them to. It's not just relying on Kucherov and Stamkos and Hedman. It's the Alex Killorns of the team and the Andre Palats of the team. And players like that I think in the clutch can come through for them when necessary. So I still like the Lightning. I always said it was going to be a long series, and it looks it's going to be that way.
All right, Puck Daddy looking good. By the way, did you get a haircut? The haircut looks nice. Did you tighten it up a little bit there? It does look nice as well. I mean, this guy's killing it on the ice. Let's move to the other semifinal. And what a game 2 we saw last night down the street, T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Montreal evening things up, getting that all-important split on the road as heavy underdogs against the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, we didn't necessarily think that Vegas would shut them out, but a win we figured would come north of the border in Montreal. Did last night's outcome with Carey Price stealing one make you rethink this series at all?
No, but I do have one bit of pause about it now, which is that the Montreal Canadiens are clearly a different team when they score the first goal. They're now 9-1 in games in which they've scored first. Scoring first enables them to get set up in their defensive system better. It allows them to play with confidence, knowing that Carey Price isn't going to, give up a bunch of goals to the other team at any point during the game. So if they have the lead, they play with it very well. I think the Golden Knights know this. I'm a little concerned about Chandler Stevenson, their center, not playing in game 2. It could be the 3rd series in a row where the Montreal Canadiens have seen a top center for the opposition go out with an injury. But I do like Vegas in this series, and I do like them to course correct and win game 3 up at Bell Center.
Okay, Wish, specifically game 3, the book still says -170 for the Golden Knights. How would you play this game in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna get any money line juice from the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. Maybe you look towards the puck line again, as I did in Game 1 when I got them on the cover there. Again, I just think this is a Golden Knights veteran team that has been through it. They've been through the wars. In fact, they've been through a series already in the first round against Minnesota, in which they split on home ice and had to deal with a very good defensive team. So I have the utmost confidence they're going to go to Montreal, be able to play their game, and make this a 2-1 series after Game 3.
The dapper daddy of pucks, Greg Wyshynski, joining us here on Bet live from Long Island, side of Game 3 tonight between those Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Greg, we appreciate you joining us here and enjoy tonight's action at Nassau.
Anytime.
All right, Arda, now it's our turn. We've heard from the puck daddy. Now we get to make our picks here on Bet. I will let you take the draw first. Lightning, Islanders, series tied up at 1 apiece. The Ning minus 140 favorites on the money line. Islanders plus 120 dogs at home. How are you playing Game 3?
Here's what I would like people to consider when looking at this line. First of all, the Islanders, it was a gritty Game 1 victory. Tampa was a decisive, typical Lightning, overpowering, over-talented kind of Game 2 victory. Tampa Bay are 5-1 on the road, and minus 140 seems pretty appropriate here for them going into a very hostile environment. The Coliseum has been absolutely rocking this entire playoffs, but for me, I would still go Lightning to win Game number 3.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I just think the Lightning, as Puck Daddy pointed out, the more talented team. They have guys outside of, their superstars. There's better depth there on that Lightning team with guys like Killorn and Palat that can pick up the slack if these superstars are lacking. So they're the better team. There's a reason why they're favored. I think they bounce back and re-steal home ice, so to speak, by winning Game 3 on the money line. Now, let's turn to Knights and Les Habitants, also tied up at 1 apiece as the road team was able to steal one. Montreal and Las Vegas. This series returns north of the border for Game 3. Knights are favored in Game 3 on the road, minus 160 on the money line. Arda, the Canadiens, even bigger home dogs in Game 3 than we were just discussing with the Islanders at plus 140, total sitting at 5 goals. How are you playing this pivotal Game 3 matchup in Montreal?
So the first thing I'd like to say is that the Montreal Canadiens have had incredible production at depth. Their fourth line, Yoel Armia, scoring the first goal in Game number 2, for example. Their depth has been superb throughout this postseason, especially in this series, and that is something to watch because, as any hockey analyst will tell you, it's not just the superstars that contribute or are needed in the postseason. It is that depth. It is that second, third, fourth line really clicking in order to get you some wins when sometimes it doesn't look like you'll be able to get one. The stat that Wish said that I would love people to think about when betting this game is that when Montreal scores first in this postseason, they are 9-1. So if you believe the Habs will be able to score first when they are now shifting focus to Montreal, if they score first, they have a commanding presence, particularly with Carey Price and that confidence in net. So if you think they're going to score first, or maybe even placing a bet as the game progresses and saying, well, either they have scored first or you feel like it's coming, maybe you might want to pay attention to the timing there because that is a very, very tantalizing statistic.
Yeah, I do think the Canadiens, when you have Carey Price in net, you are a danger in any game that you play, and we saw that in Game 2. What I'm going to play is the total under. We know these are two very good defensive teams, Montreal especially with their goaltending, getting Petrie back on the back line as well, and now this game, or this series, shifting to Montreal where they can dictate pace a little bit more, dictate the style they want to play with that last change as well. So I think they're going to try and keep this a low-scoring game because in low-scoring games, usually you're going to see Carey Price rise to the occasion and help you steal one. So under 5 goals, plus 120, banking on Price and to a lesser extent Marc-Andre Fleury to keep pucks out of the net in this bad boy. Before we get off the ice, I do want to ask you specifically, Arda, since you're such a puck head here, how are you feeling about the Conn Smythe market right now? Is there a player that you want to identify as a good bet right now for the Conn Smythe, knowing we have just 4 teams standing?
Okay, look at Carey Price 10-1, and here is my rationale for this. If the Montreal Canadiens make the Stanley Cup final and Carey Price plays the way that he's been playing and stands on his head even in the final, and even if the Canadiens lose that series, but Carey Price is seen as somebody who was a superstar in that series, we could possibly get a very rare instance where a losing player in the Stanley Cup Finals wins the Conn Smythe. It happened with Jean-Sébastien Giguère. I believe it was 2003 when the Ducks lost in the Stanley Cup Final to the Devils. It happened with Ron Hextall in an Oilers versus Flyers series in the 80s as well. This could be one of those situations. It feels like a goaltender is going to win the Conn Smythe this year. And Carey Price, for me, if he's playing lights out and if he's one of the singular reasons the Canadiens even make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, like many people believe, and if he continues that prowess in the finals, even if the Habs don't win the Cup, Carey Price might be a good bet here.
Yeah, Arda, I can't disagree with that at all. The value on Price at 10-1. I mean, you saw Marc-Andre Fleury had the shortest odds at plus 140. He's a netminder. Obviously, Vegas is built on defense as well, and they're maybe a better team, a deeper team that has shorter odds to win the Stanley Cup. But Price is the best goaltender in the entire universe. And if he can lead Montreal to the finals, they don't even need to win, but like you said, push it to 7 games, and they lose by a goal in overtime or something in 7 games because Price has been standing on his head the entire series. I do like the value of Price at 10-1, especially since the other netminder he's facing in this series is plus 140. Just great value there. All right, let's get off the ice and hop on the hardwood. The NBA postseason continues. What a crazy day we saw yesterday with first the Sixers blowing that lead to Atlanta, and then with no Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers going into Utah and putting the Jazz in a ominous 3-2 series hole. Tonight, we have Game 6 of the Nets and Bucks series. It returns to Milwaukee. Milwaukee has to win on their home court to extend this series after the masterpiece from Kevin Durant in Game 5, where he had, 49, 17, and 10, a triple-double. Absolute marvelous performance from KD. James Harden will play. Still no Kyrie Irving. Harden will test that hamstring yet again after giving it 43 or 45 minutes in Game 5. Nets, 5.5-point dogs. 220 is the total. Arda, how are you approaching Game 6?
I mean, this feels like a close game. It has it written all over it. I feel like the Bucks are going to come out swinging. They have shown signs of brilliance throughout this series in spurts, especially when the pressure has been on them. But Giannis, there's going to be a lot of question marks there. I mean, some plays, it looks like he's lost out there. So would say many people. And for the Nets, it's obviously injury trouble, of course. Kyrie Irving, James Harden not playing at 100%, has 5 points the last game. And it all rests on KD's shoulders and has this incredible postseason performance. He's going to need another one of those performances for the Nets to really close out this series. But I feel like he has it in him. I really wonder. I'm going Nets on this one. I really feel like this is one of those situations where the Nets can weather that early Bucks storm, but then KD can really take over. It might not be like that last game performance in terms of numbers, 49 points, et cetera, but we might still see a masterclass from KD to close it out here.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I'm picking a side, it's not my most confident bet, but if I'm picking a side, I'll put the points in my pocket with KD and the Nets. I think James Harden's going to be better in this game, although you'll see some regression from Jeff Green. I think Harden and Joe Harris will be better. I like the under as well of 220, but my favorite player prop you see right here on the screen, Giannis Antetokounmpo under 18.5 rebounds and assists. He has not, in any game this series, gone over 16 rebounds and assists. So there's some room for error here. 15.3 is his average over the course of the 5 games. The reason being his assist rate one is down as he tries to, become a bigger part of the offense, scoring the bucket in the low block, where that's a weakness of the Brooklyn defense. And there's really good rebounders around him on this team. Brook Lopez, Kevin Durant, now that James Harden is back, even Drew Holiday on his own team. These guys are above average rebounders as far as rebounding rate relative to their position. So Giannis isn't really capable of gobbling up everything like he would against a Washington Wizard team that only has to worry about Russell Westbrook. So good rebounders on both sides. The fact that this has not hit one time in the 5 games, 5-0 to the under. I'm going to keep riding that trend. Again, I do think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think that also benefits the points in your pocket with the Brooklyn Nets because lower scoring games usually equal closer scoring games. So I'm with you. I like the Nets. I like the under. I love Giannis under 18.5 rebounds, and assists. Has not yet won. Hit that in this series. All right, Arda. First, I got to ask you, as we move into the good word, do you prefer blue or green? What color would you prefer your words to be written in?
Oh, blue, please.
Okay.
Absolutely. Is that even a question? Who asks for green?
Well, green, the color of dead presidents, color of money. Hello. I mean, there's a lot of people out
come
there
on.
who like green.
Blue is a vibrant color, the color of peace and happiness. Come on.
Fair enough. It's
No,
also the
good
color
vibes?
of
All
it's
right.
also the color of sadness as well. If you're feeling the Mississippi blues.
Oh.
Hello.
Come
All right,
on.
good
The St.
word.
Louis Blues.
Okay, I'm a blues guy, so fair enough. You got me there. You know the deal. I'm going to read a statement. You have to tell me what word pops into your head. And since you don't have an iPad with you there in Bristol, I'll be writing your word for you here. I'll give you blue, and I'll let you tee off first. The good word starts with Kevin Durant. He is plus 650 to record another triple-double in Game 6 tonight versus the Bucks. What is your good word?
The first word that comes to mind, injuries. And the reason is that though it may not be a performance like the last one, 49 points, it was a masterclass, it was a demolition by KD, but we're going to be looking at him to have another great performance. And though triple-doubles aren't often associated with Kevin Durant, he's not Mr. Triple-Double like Russell Westbrook say, but the spotlight's going to be on him, the ball's going to be on him, and he's going to be distributing and shooting and doing what he does best. I do believe he has another triple-double in him, so that's why I like this bet a lot.
All right, fair enough. Injuries, what you say. I'll switch to green here, and I'll put the word chase up there. Because I think a lot of people are going to chase Kevin Durant backing up his Game 5 triple-double with a Game 6 triple-double. But I'm not using this in a negative connotation. I think it's a worthwhile chase. Sometimes it's okay to chase, especially at a price of plus 650. Now, if it was 3 or 4 to 1, I would not. But at plus 650, I think it's worth a sprinkle because you're right. The injuries, we know he's going to score double-digit points. I think he can get double-digit rebounds. The assists were what was surprising because Harden was on the floor, but really, Durant and Harden are going to have the ball in their hands every single possession. And if Steve Nash plays him 48 minutes again, counting stats and the opportunity goes up. So watch that. If he doesn't come off the floor again, I think it's a worthwhile chase for KD. Number 2 on the good word, we go to Major League Baseball, Arda. Vlad Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays now tied with Shohei Ohtani for shortest AL MVP odds at plus 125. You're a Toronto guy. What's your good word on Vlad and Shohei at plus 125 AL MVP?
Unicorn. I've been using that word for Shohei Ohtani all season, rightfully so. He pitches great, he hits great. We do a segment called Filth or Flight on Sports Nation. He's always a part of both. He's throwing strikeouts, he's hitting long bombs, he's just a unicorn. But now I love, as a Toronto guy, Tyler, I couldn't be more ecstatic that Vlad Guerrero Jr. is in the same vicinity and in the same conversation as Shohei Ohtani. Give me that vibe all day long. Go Blue Jays, let's go!
I think you got a couple of unicorns there. You got Shohei with his ability to hit and his ability to pitch. And then Vlad Jr., maybe Shohei's the only other human in the universe that hits the ball harder as regularly as Vlad Guerrero Jr. I'm going to go with Foxy, 2 X's, because Shohei Ohtani is the modern version of Babe Ruth. We know that. Well, Babe Ruth, the MVP trophy really wasn't around when he was balling in the late teens and 20s with the Yankees. The guy who won 3 MVPs once that became an award in the 30s, who was known just for his prodigious power and his big bat, was Jimmy Fox of the A's and Boston. Jimmy Fox is a guy who was about as good hitting the ball as Babe Ruth was from the right side back in the 30s. So Foxy, Vlad Guerrero, Babe Ruth, Shohei Ohtani, and these two are just Foxy. Watching them play, they're beautiful. Vlad, the beautiful destruction of a baseball, and then Ohtani, you know what he does with that right arm throwing the rock, and then what he does from the left side of the plate, being able to hit absolute nuke missiles. All right, Arda, let's wrap up the good word by going to the pitch. Lukaku of Belgium, plus 275 to win the gold boot at Euro 2020. What say you about the world-class striker for Belgium?
Only because I want to see you write this. And by the way, this is all one word, no spaces. Government-issued municipal bonds. Go ahead and write it out there, Tyler. Go ahead.
I'm just going to write municipal bonds. I don't know if we have enough space for that. By the way, that's 4 words, not 1 N word. It's not called the good word. It's called the good word, my friend. But I'll let you slide.
I know. Only because I'm guest hosting, you're like, I'll let you go on this one, just this once. The reason I like this is because obviously a municipal bond is a safe bet. Lukaku with Belgium. Belgium is slated to make a long run in the Euros. They're the team to beat. They're the team that many people are picking to win the whole thing and finally bring some championship glory to Belgium at the international level. Lukaku will be at the front of that. He already has his tally open, his campaign open at Euros, and I can see that continuing as they get deeper and progress into the tournament.
All right, my word here is early. Now, it's early in this tournament, but I think you want to invest early in Lukaku in the government-issued municipal bonds because I don't see this price getting any bigger, getting any better for you because I do think Belgium's going to make a deep run. I do think they're going to continue to score a lot of goals. You know this is the guy spearheading the attack who's likely going to keep adding tallies to his resume, to his sheet here in the Euro 2020 play. So get in early. Don't be late to this party with Lukaku for the Golden Boot at Euro 2020. Now is the time to buy because I don't see that price getting any better. Speaking of Euro 2020 play, Arda, why don't we make some picks here? We have more group stage play happening. First and foremost, let's handicap the matchup we'll see between Sweden and Slovakia. Sweden minus 117 on the money line, minus 120 now on the money line. A little move there. Big favorites over Slovakia. 2.5 is the total, of course. This game taking place tomorrow morning, Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. How you playing this one?
I think this one ends up a draw. If you're asking me what the result is, I feel like this is a draw. Slovakia had a great result against Poland. Sweden had a terrific result against Spain with a draw, Slovakia beating Poland. I feel like these two teams are fairly evenly matched, at least in terms of confidence going into this game based on their game one results. I really could see a draw here. The plus 390 is a little bit like it makes me turn my head twice in terms of Slovakia's plus 390 for this game, but I'm still sticking draw here.
Yeah, in the three-way market, I'll go with Sweden. They are considerable favorites, minus 120, so it's under even money. I think that's for a reason. You mentioned Slovakia getting a better than expected outcome in their first match. So I'm not going to say they're fat and happy here, but I think they've kind of already accomplished what they wanted to, getting a draw earlier. Now Sweden, an opportunity here where they're heavy favorites to put 3 points on the table there. I think that's something they're going to be able to do. It's not my favorite bet of the two that we're going to discuss, but if I had to pick in the three-way market here, I will take the favorite Sweden. I'll lay the 120 there against Slovakia. All right, this one is even bigger in terms of the delta between the two teams on the three-way market. England and Scotland going at it. The English minus 320 on the money line. Big favorites there. If you think Scotland can win this game, what a payout you'd get. Plus 950 again. This game taking place tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. How are you playing England and the Scottish?
I'm not throwing any shade to Scottish fans here, okay? I support the Turkish national team, and we're an absolute dumpster fire at the moment. So with that said, any Scottish analyst or fan that I talk to has no faith in this team going into the game against England. It's almost as if they're looking past the tournament already and drowning in their sorrows. So even though the line is a plus 950 for Scotland, I can in good faith say I would even entertain that. Minus 320 England to win. I would even consider prop bets like England winning by 2 or more goals, whatever's out there, because I feel like this will be a sound victory for England, and many people are leaning that way, Tyler.
Yeah, I agree with you, Arda. 320 is just a little bit too much juice for me to lay. I think England wins this game, so I'd rather try and just throw the dart right at the bullseye and correctly guess the final count. Instead of that, I'll just attack the total here. I'll play under 2.5 goals because I don't think the Scottish are going to find the back of the bag. I think England is the only team that scores in this match. I think they have a clean sheet. The English do. So knowing that the English aren't exactly Brazil or Argentina or France, a team that is, dominant because of flashy, creative, dynamic offense, they're a little bit more structured, a little bit more vanilla, let's say, in England with their style. So I think if they get up 1-0 or 2-0, we'll kind of pack it in and let that be the the score that settles it. I don't think they're going to try and score 3-4 goals against the Scottish. So a 1-0, 2-0 outcome is what I'm expecting here. That way I go under 2.5. And I don't have to lay as much juice as the 320 in case something crazy happens. And I have a little bit better chance of hitting my outcome rather than threading the needle, throwing a dart at an exact outcome of 1-0 or 2-0. That's Euro 2020 action for Friday. We wrap another week here on Bet. We had some great people join us. Arda today, the Bear yesterday. We had Jordan Schultz on Monday. I think Joe will be back unless he goes to Philly to try and beat some people up on the Sixers. Arda, enjoy the weekend. We'll see you back here Monday.